When we're talking about the development of hoplites and phalanx and really the polis itself, we're still kind of hanging out in that era of a Greek Renaissance, right? So the 800 to 4 500 range. And another thing that happens a lot in this era, especially kind of starting at about 750, is a lot of migration. And in this era, it's in the form of colonization. So a lot of people end up leaving their polis or their home polis, their metropolis, for colonies that were not mountains, that were, in other words, either agriculturally or in some other type of resource rich. And by about 550, you've got colonies that are connected very specifically with, again, those home poleis, those metropolis, that creates this balance that you kind of see on this map right here, right? So in some ways, you get colonies in places like Italy and France and Spain and Africa and around the Black Sea even, and in the Crimean Peninsula, which is kind of interesting right now. And that spreads Greek culture, right? Those folks take with them the layout of the poleis, the gods that they worship, the notions of physical perfection and competition, and really export that Greek culture elsewhere. So that leads to the development of more of a common Greek identity, but at the same time, that also increases competition with each other a little bit. But if you take a look at where some of these colonies are, they're way far away from mainland Greece. And what that means is if, for example, you're kind of an Ionian colony, but you're right next to a Dorian colony, yet everybody else around you is totally different, you see the differences between Ionian and Dorian, both from Greece, as being pretty insignificant compared to, say, differences to the Persians that are nearby. And what that means is that those differences are insignificant and that Greek culture becomes kind of even more manifest. Maybe when you came to Ferrum, there was somebody from a rival high school, and if there wasn't, imagine there was. In high school, you would have been competitive, but you're from the same area. You kind of have the same background in some ways, and if you come to Ferrum, you'd probably have a lot more in common than you would have different, just based on what everyone else is like. So, increase of trade, increase of industry. From Greece, they tend to send out pottery, wine, olive oil. They tend to import stuff like grain because, remember, there's lots of mountains. So places like Alexandria, which is in northern Egypt, or places like around the Black Sea where they can produce lots of grain, they send that back to Greece and they start supporting a population that's too large to otherwise be supported there. They also bring back slaves, which are going to be important to Greece in a variety of ways.